Good evening and many thanks for joining us live on QTV. You are watching QTV News and I am Ajibintu Drame. In tonight's top stories. For the first time since the change of government in 2017, the Gambia Armed Forces on Thursday passed out 226 newly recruited soldiers, 61 of them female. Oil marketing companies, OMCs in the Gambia, say they are on the brink of bankruptcy due to many factors and are threatening to shut down their operations from Monday, 17th October. According to a select committee briefing by the foreign minister, the Gambia has less than 20% of its diplomatic missions operational. Today is International Day for Disaster Risk Reduction. Given recent events in the country, we hear what it means for the Gambia. And in Breast Cancer Awareness Month, we speak to some of those involved in raising awareness of and treating the condition. And in international news, following an Ebola outbreak, Uganda's President Museveni has ordered traditional healers in the country to stop treating people. Those were our main headlines, and now the news in detail. Now, for the first time since the change of government in 2017, the Gambia Armed Forces on Thursday passed out 226 newly recruited soldiers, including 61 female recruits, after successfully completing basic military training. Aliusise reports.
The graduation or passing out, to use the military term, of these 226 personnel of the Gambia Armed Forces was presided over by the Vice President Badra Alieu Diouf, on behalf of the President, who also doubles as the Commander-in-Chief of the Gambia Armed Forces at the Fajara Barracks. These soldiers reached this historic stage after undergoing thorough scrutiny and months of rigorous basic military training at the GAF Training School. Also in attendance were senior government officials, members of the military command, and family members of the recruits. Known as Intake 37, this latest batch, 61 of whom are female, 165 male, and 4 officers cadets, is the first passing out by the armed forces since President Barrow came to power in 2017. Among other things, they were trained on basic public order management, military ethics, physical fitness, live firing exercise, field training exercise, law of armed conflicts, and international humanitarian law. In a statement on behalf of President Barrow, Badra Alieu Diouf, the Gambia's Vice President, who is also the chairperson of the Gambia Armed Forces Council, hopes the recruits will adopt and uphold the military values.
I have given approval for the Ministry of Defense to work with the Ministry of Justice and other relevant ministries to ensure that most policy documents, such as the Armed Forces Act, the terms and conditions of service for both officers and soldiers, and also other policies, are adequate and fit for purpose. It is envisaged that when these exercises are completed, serving in the military will not only be honorable, but equally rewarding.
Lieutenant General Yakuba A. Drame, Chief of Defense Staff of the Gambia Armed Forces, under whose directive this recruit process is conducted, welcomed the recruits and emphasized the need to be disciplined and law-abiding. He used the occasion to thank past and serving members of the Gambia Armed Forces as well as the selection board for their good work.
Allow me to reiterate, the board did a commendable job by selecting potential recruits based strictly on merits, in line with the terms of reference given to them, without favor, ill will, or affection. Some of the terms of reference stipulated that the board was to ensure that the selections process should represent what we call the national character in terms of ethnicity, in terms of faith, in terms of region, and last but not the least, in terms of gender.
Lieutenant Colonel Abdullah Ba, Commandant GAF Training School, said the new recruits are ready to serve the country with loyalty, as he also urged them to remain disciplined and committed to national duty. There was also a presentation of awards to outstanding recruits, from among which Umar Yafa emerged as the overall best recruit. Umar, who is currently on overseas studies, had his family members receive the award on his behalf. Reporting for QTV News, I am Aliou Cisse.
Oil marketing companies, OMCs in the Gambia, say they are on the brink of bankruptcy due to unfavorable market prices and lack of sufficient US dollars, amongst other factors. As a result, they are threatening to shut down their operations. Our reporter, Mobudu Gajaga, engaged a representative of the OMCs, and this is his report.
There is a looming crisis of oil and petroleum products in the Gambia for many reasons, according to the oil marketing companies, OMCs. The companies took the unprecedented step of issuing a press release on the 12th of October, in which they warned that the situation is so bad they will cease operating from Monday, 17th October. They say a lack of dollars for importing is one of the main reasons. Mamudu Haidara, member of the oil marketing companies, explains.
We are the only business whereby you spend your millions, you bring oil into this country, you present those data to government, they do your calculations and tell you this is what you have to get for margin, your profit. And this is how much you're going to be paying for taxes. And this is how much we are also going to set your dollar rate that you be purchasing these dollars for.
The OMCs also complained about government's pricing structure over the last 3 months having a ripple effect on their businesses. According to Mamudu Haidara, despite government subsidies on oil, the pricing against the rate of the dollar is bad for their businesses.
On the pricing structure, there is a little parameter there that they say US dollar differential. In that parameter is usually, there is a figure you will always insert there to take care of those disparities, which they've never used in the recent past. Now, the problem we've been facing is some of us and all the OMCs in this country have a backlog of up to 3 to 5 LCs that are matured, supposed to be paid to the suppliers, but unfortunately they couldn't be paid because the banks are having problems on US dollars or Forex to settle those LCs.
Are the current issues facing oil marketing companies likely to lead to fuel shortages in the next few days? Mamudu Haidara says they've been operating at a loss, and if that continues, OMCs will go bankrupt.
It's not because of the OMCs want to shut down, it's because product could not be available, number one. And the little product we are left with, any liter we sell, we are losing. So at some point, somebody has to stop the bleeding before we bleed to death. So if you may call it in a practical term, we are on a life support.
Among the worries of the OMCs is the unavailability of enough Forex, US dollars. According to Haidara, if the government can provide the dollars for them, they will be able to resume importing.
I'm not saying they're not making efforts. They might be making a lot of efforts, but all we want is provide the dollar for us. We have the liquid cash in dollars here, sitting in those banks. It's not that we are out of money. We want government to give us handouts. No, we have the money. What we are not having is the dollar. And it's the dollar that brings this fuel inside here.
This is not the first time the oil marketing companies have complained about government's pricing structure on fuel. They did so a few months ago, and most petrol stations were shut briefly. There seems to be little time between the threatened closure of petrol stations and time to negotiate a way to avoid this. Given our dependency on fuel, for transportation, even temporary closure could have a devastating effect on daily life. Mamudu Gajaga, QTV News.
Moving on, the Gambia has less than 20% diplomatic missions in capitals around the world, making it difficult to cover and address concerns of Gambians abroad. Coupled with under-resourced foreign missions, this has been a challenge for the Gambia's diplomatic service. This came in a briefing on Wednesday by the country's Foreign Affairs Minister to the Foreign Affairs Standing Committee. Mobudu Laminchoy reports.
Foreign relations are central to a country's development agenda. Guided by national interests, nations cooperate to pool resources, share information, and address local and global socio-economic demands in a world that has become a global village. The Gambia's Foreign Affairs Minister, Dr. Mamadou Tangara, briefs the National Assembly Standing Committee on Foreign Affairs.
It is a fact that our engagements with multilateral and bilateral partners over the years yielded far more greater benefits for the country than the expenditure. This can easily be seen in our engagements with the UN Peacebuilding Commission, our role in handling the peacekeeping operation for the army, the police, engagement with other UN agencies, countries and partners, etc.
To push the Gambia's foreign policy goals and objectives, the country has diplomatic relations with countries around the world. However, the Gambia does not have diplomatic missions in all of these countries' capitals, as the country uses multiple accreditations, with one mission sometimes covering 5 to 8 countries.
Honorable members may also be interested to know that currently the Gambia has 23 diplomatic missions and 2 consulate general posts around the world. This means we have presence in less than 20% of capitals in the world, making it difficult to have effective and efficient coverage, especially for our citizens. We have no resident diplomat in the whole of the Nordic and many parts of Asia, Latin America, and the Caribbean, even though, unlike many years ago, all these areas now have Gambians, and there have been an increase in the volume of trade and people-to-people contacts between them and our country.
Despite the role foreign affairs contribute to bringing in development projects and resources, the Standing Committee is informed that foreign missions are under-resourced and underfunded, thus making their work challenging.
When the Ministry of Foreign Affairs is responsible for Gambians abroad, but in terms of budget allocation, the average each mission abroad gets as welfare fund to assist Gambians in needy situations is usually between $100,000 to $200,000, which is grossly inadequate. Today, we have the case of Gambians in detention in UAE. MOFA and its mission in Abu Dhabi want to evacuate the said detainees, but there is no budget as the mission was given only $100,000 as its annual welfare budget for 2022. Honorable members would agree with me that remittances to our missions abroad are meant to cover the entire operations of missions, be it facilitating agreements, MOUs, promotional activities, strengthening relations, representation, protocol functions, etc.
The Vice Chair and members of the Foreign Affairs Standing Committee called on the Foreign Affairs Ministry to collaborate with the committee as partners towards addressing the challenges highlighted. The Permanent Secretary of the Ministry concurred. The Foreign Affairs Minister's briefing challenged stakeholders to see, quote-unquote, running foreign affairs as an investment, and that the conversation should be framed around how much we gain from investment in foreign affairs. Mahmoud Lamin Choi, QTV News.
And from that story, we will go for a commercial break. Still to come, we have more stories to do. Stay tuned.
Wait, LG, thank you. Yup. Thanks to LG ThinQ, I can operate and get cycle updates from my AIDD front-load washing machine without even stepping foot in the laundry room. I can be busy with rehearsals on a conference call and still do my laundry, or watching series glued to my couch and too lazy to get up. My life made easy with LG ThinQ.
Have you heard about Platinum Properties?
No, what's that?
Well, Platinum Properties is a real estate agency located at Sukuta Traffic Lights on the Turntable Highway, selling the best located lands with amazing deals. From our Sifo Gunjur housing to Sanyang housing, to two-jarring faces and many other perfect locations, as well as individual plots suitable for you. Get away from the noisy and crowded streets and buy your dream home with us in these beautiful and peaceful locations. We have many dimensions available for you, from 21 by 25 to 21 by 20, 19 by 19 to 25 by 25, and many other different dimensions to suit your needs. With flexible payment plans, whether it is a mortgage payment or not, we've got you covered.
Oh, wow. Thank you. I'll visit them.
Reach now to Platinum Properties to get the best deal. For more information, call us on 397-1669 or 760-5414. Platinum Properties, your best choice for your dream home.
Welcome back. Breaking news just coming in. President Barrow appoints Trade Minister, His Excellency Mr. Adama Barrow. President of the Republic of the Gambia has relieved Honorable Babukar Usmaila Joof of the portfolio of Minister responsible for the public service, administrative reforms, policy coordination and delivery. In the same vein, President Barrow appointed Honorable Babukar Usmaila Joof as Minister responsible for the portfolio of trade, industry, regional integration and employment with immediate effect from today, 13th October 2022. Also, His Excellency the President today, 13th October 2022, appoints Mr. Babukar Boy as Minister of Public Service, Administrative Reforms, Policy Coordination and Delivery, effective 1st November 2022. And moving on, today the 13th of October is International Day for Disaster Risk Reduction, which seeks to promote a global culture for disaster risk reduction. Jada Basonko takes a closer look at this year's commemoration.
This year's International Day for Disaster Risk Reduction came at a time when the Gambia is still recovering from the worst flooding it hasn't experienced for over 5 decades. The International Day for Disaster Risk Reduction acknowledges the progress being made toward reducing disaster risk, loss of lives, livelihoods and health in line with the Sendai Framework for Disaster Risk Reduction. Here is the Deputy Executive Director of the National Disaster Management Agency, Sering Modu Joof.
This would give us an opportunity to acknowledge our progress, but also to identify the gaps and provide solution in ensuring that we don't fall in such traps as it happened again. Because we like it or not, disasters would continue to happen as long as the human race continue to exist.
The theme of the International Day for Disaster Risk Reduction 2022 is Early Warning, which is Target G of the Sendai Framework. Substantially increase the availability of the access of multi-hazard early warning systems and disaster risk information and assessments to people by 2030. The Gambia Red Cross Society's Disaster Management Coordinator, Andrew Jaju, delves into the need for structured early warning systems.
The windstorms disasters last year, the impact was more in North Bank region because most of the trees are all gone. They are all been cut for firewood. And these trees need to be replaced to reduce the impact of disasters. So that one very important practical example of what government and what communities need to do is to rebuild those natural resources.
During this year's floods in the Gambia, at least 47,104 people were affected, as were over 4,186 households. Since then, there have been numerous incidents of diarrhea and skin rashes, as well as blockages of sewage systems. All of these could have been prevented with the right early warning systems, as pointed out by Andrew Jaju. However, the Deputy Executive Director of the National Disaster Management Agency, Sering Modu Joof, says the right signals were given before the heavy downpour, but weren't received well.
Information reached the people it was meant for. That's one. There is another issue of people getting information and not acting on the information. These are two different things. Our institution, once the information is generated by the water resources, it is passed on to us for further dissemination to the people.
We engaged the Deputy Executive Director of NDMA on the capacities of his institution's personnel, as during the recent flooding, an 11-member team was deployed by the United Nations Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs to help in the emergency response and assessment. Does this mean local personnel couldn't handle it?
Capacities are never enough because the way and manner in which the world is evolving. There are always new things, new technology, new thinking is always coming to the fore on every time and every year. So capacity is a problem. We cannot say Gambia have the capacity as we expect.
There is need to continuously build capacities of local personnel to respond independently and structure early warning systems. With the right policies and plans, major disasters can be prevented, which will ensure resources put into order demands. Reporting for QTV News, I am Jenna Bosonko.
October is Breast Cancer Month, which is an annual global campaign devoted to raising awareness and early detection of breast cancer. Lena E. Igwenyiba spoke to some of those involved in detection, treatment, and awareness raising about breast cancer. Here is her report.
Breast cancer is a type of cancer that starts in the breast. It can start in one or both breasts. Cancer starts when cells begin to grow out of control. Dr. Abubakar Jah, urologic surgeon at the Edward Francis Small Teaching Hospital and Sharab Medical Center, says the exact cause of breast cancer is unknown. However, there are risk factors known to affect one's livelihood of developing breast cancer. Some of this you cannot do anything about, but there are some you can change.
What is known are associated factors, things that are associated with it. And things that are associated with breast cancer are things many a times people do not have control over them. But I'll list some of them. One of them is early attainment of menstrual cycle.
Breast cancer most commonly presents as a painless lump in the breast. Dr. Jah reiterates that not all breast lumps are breast cancers. He also says self-examination of the breast can aid early detection. Aside from women, men can also get breast cancer.
Men also do get breast cancer, and unfortunately for men, when they get breast cancer, it's actually even worse than a woman getting a breast cancer because their breast tissue is so small. So as soon as the breast cancer starts, if you don't discover it immediately, it can spread very quickly outside the breast.
According to the World Health Organization, in 2020, there were 2.3 million women diagnosed with breast cancer and 685,000 deaths globally. As of the end of 2020, there were 7.8 million women alive who were diagnosed with breast cancer in the past 5 years, making it the world's most prevalent cancer. Professor Gabriel O. Ogun, a pathologist at the Edward Francis Small Teaching Hospital and a lecturer at the University of the Gambia, gave an estimation of the prevalence of cancer in the Gambia.
If you use modeling methods, we can say that the number of cases of cancer in the Gambia will be about between 500 and 750 every year. But that's just an estimation. But you can do projections and they can go as high as 2,000.
Cancer Confrontation Care and Consolation in the Gambia, C3G, is a non-profit organization that conducts free screenings over the last 5 years and which last year inaugurated a free cancer lab at the Edward Francis Small Teaching Hospital. Somanjai, an executive trustee of C3G, says they will be conducting another screening exercise.
This time we're at Bundung Maternal and Child Hospital on the 29th, Saturday the 29th. So it's always absolutely free. And at this point you'll be able to get not only breast screening, but cervical screening if you need, and also a lot of information from some fantastic professionals.
Early detection and prompt treatment of breast cancer can lead to better outcomes, making accelerated treatment of the disease a critical factor in patient survival. Reporting for QTV News, I am Lena E. Gwenyiba.
Indeed, early detection saves lives. And now onto international news. Uganda's President Museveni has ordered traditional healers in the country to stop treating people. The move follows the death of a 45-year-old man who was said to have been exposed to the Ebola virus in Kampala. More in this report.
According to the country's health ministry, the ongoing Ebola outbreak in the country has reportedly killed at least 19 people. President Museveni, in a televised statement, directed security officials to arrest people suspected of having contracted the virus if they refuse to go into isolation. The 45-year-old man who died in a hospital in Kampala is said to have sought treatment from a traditional healer after fleeing his village in Mubenda district, the outbreak's epicenter, before turning up at a hospital in Kampala as his condition deteriorated. Since his death, some of his family members are said to have gone into hiding. However, some have been put into quarantine, and President Museveni have urged them to report to health facilities. Although authorities said there were currently no confirmed cases of Ebola in Kampala, they pleaded with the public to continue being vigilant, assuring them that health workers will bring the outbreak under control. There have been 54 confirmed cases in the country so far. Some 20 people, including 5 medical workers, have recovered. It has been almost a month since Uganda confirmed the outbreak of the Sudan strain of Ebola, which has now spread to 5 districts. On 11 September 2022, a 24-year-old man from Mabudu in central Uganda began feeling feverish and bleeding from his eyes, as well as starting to cough and discharge blood-stained diarrhea. After visiting 2 private clinics during the next 4 days, he was referred to hospital and quarantined while blood tests were carried out. On 19 September, PCR tests revealed that he was infected with the Sudan strain of the virus, one of 4 viruses known to cause Ebola viruses in humans. That same day, the man died. Ebola was first discovered in 1976 when 2 independent outbreaks of hemorrhagic fever occurred in Central Africa. One near the Ebola River in what was then Zaire, now the Democratic Republic of Congo, or DRC, the second in what is now South Sudan. Answane Sonyasi for KTV News.
That's all for this edition of the news. Thanks for watching.